Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I am back from my recent trip to the Chicago area, Munster, Indiana specifically, to attend Dark Lord Day, which I talked about briefly in a video a little while ago when my friend and I finally were able to purchase tickets to this year's event after many, many years of trying. The event is held at a brewery called Floyds out in Munster, Indiana. I wanted to make a quick video just to talk about my experiences there, my experiences at the event, Floyds in general, and then sort of the Chicago area in general. Before I get into that, just really quickly, it's been nice to see some more views come into the channel. I broke 1,000 channel views, which I know is absolutely and utterly minuscule in comparison to most channels, absolutely nothing. But like I said, it's fun to make these videos. It's fun when I get any kind of feedback, any kind of views at all. So thanks to the new subscriber, thanks to the people that have watched recently. I appreciate you checking the stuff out, and hopefully you've gotten a kick out of anything at all I've talked about. So without further ado, these are the items that I got at Dark Lord Day. I got a bottle of Dark Lord itself, which is a Russian-style Imperial Stout, and I got a bottle of a Dark Lord variant. This one's called Brotilla or Brotilla. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I've been saying Brotilla, but it's essentially Dark Lord aged in Portuguese wine barrels to give it kind of a different flavor profile. To tell you a little bit more about Dark Lord Day, if you don't know about it, there's a brewery in Munster, Indiana, about 40 minutes outside of Chicago, called Floyds, that once a year has an event called Dark Lord Day, where they release this Russian-style Imperial Stout, Dark Lord. It's the only time of the year you can normally buy it. The event has become more and more popular over time. I think this year they said something like 13,000 people attended it. So it's become fairly well known, fairly desirable. The beer itself and the event are both pretty well known within most, craft beer or beer fan circles. My buddy and I, years ago, when we were starting to take beer more seriously insofar as trying to track down some of the better considered beers, Floyds is one that kept appearing on almost every list we looked at. So we started searching, near and far for any Floyds stuff, but just could not find it. We eventually heard about this event and figured one year we should go just to try everything we could and finally get our hands on some. So the last couple of years we've tried to go and had no success in getting tickets. They sell out very quickly. They're fairly pricey. But this year we waited in the queue for quite some time, got them, and then planned a trip out to attend the event. Now, like I said, the event takes place at the Brew Pub in Munster, Indiana, but it's so close to Chicago that we just made a weekend of it and went to Chicago first. We spent some time in Chicago. Chicago in general, very, very cool city. I'd never been. Just to briefly talk about some of the coolest things we did in Chicago and saw. The beer selection there is awesome. We saw lots of Floyds beer, which is tough to find in general at bars there. It makes sense because it's so close, but it was really sort of a trip for us to walk into like a random just neighborhood pub and see beers like Floyds Zombie Dust or Alpha King on tap, because those are beers we'd never have on tap here unless it was some super rare occasion. So we checked out some really cool bars in Chicago. We went to the Map Room. We went to Hop Leaf. We stayed in an area called the Magnificent Mile, which I think is sort of like an upscale business and government district. So, it was a bit more of the yuppie feel, but still lots of places easily drivable from where we were that had really awesome beer, really cool bars, very down to earth people, knowledgeable people, and just, Chicago lived up to the hype in that regard the way I wanted it to. I've also become more of a sort of coffee fan in terms of A, drinking it and enjoying it, but B, really savoring it a bit more, wanting to try different kinds, rare varieties, really renowned coffee shops and stuff like that. So we checked out a place called Sawada in Chicago, which was incredibly cool. It's, I think, curated by Hiroshi Sawada, I think is his name. He's a famous latte artist out of Japan who now has some coffee shops here in the States, and their go-to is called the Military Latte, which is a matcha espresso vanilla drink, which is just absolutely fantastic. So not to prattle on, but I wanted to give a shout out to those places in Chicago because they rocked. To Dark Lord Day itself, it took place on Saturday, this past Saturday. Like I said, we went to the brew pub at Floyds the night before. It was everything we'd hoped it would be. It was divey, metal was blaring, their beer list was insane. The people that worked there were incredibly cool, super, super knowledgeable about their beer, very welcoming. We only waited about 20, 30 minutes to sit down. We got to try almost every beer there as we really wanted to. Zombie Dust, Alpha King, Gumball Head, Disco, Savage Flow, Crack the Sky, Inverted Fields Ablaze. You know, we tried just about everything they had to offer, which really runs the gambit from sort of their flagship, more hoppy pale ales like Gumball Head's a wheat, but like Alpha King and Zombie Dust, up through, I really like Savage Flow, which is a lager and just super, super drinkable, but also super, super tasty. Disco is a beer that they actually recommend served with a couple different choices of fruit syrups because it kind of goes really well with some of those fruit notes. So I got that with Chipotle pineapple, and that was delicious. So yeah, going to the brew pub itself just for a meal and some beers lived up to the hype. We went there Friday night, hung out. They had Dead Alive playing on TV, a crazy gory zombie movie by Peter Jackson. So that was an interesting kind of flick to have on while you're eating and drinking. But that's Three Floyds in a nutshell, you know. Saturday comes, we went to Dark Lord Day. We were in Group D to pick up our allotment of Dark Lord. Tickets to the event are $180. You get 4 bottles of the original, or regular, I should say, 2018 Dark Lord, and then 1 bottle of a variant of Dark Lord. This year, I think they had 11 variants, so you get your 4 bottles of the regular in a tote bag mixed in with one of these variants at random. Some of the variants are kind of more popular, so a lot of people were hoping to get certain ones over others. The one I got, as I mentioned, it's in Portuguese wine barrels. The cool thing about Dark Lord Day is you go to get, you know, your allotment of beer, which you're guaranteed with your ticket. But there's bands playing throughout the day, you know, crazy metal bands. This band Dying Fetus headlined. What's the name of the band? Pig Destroyer played right before them. My buddy Jeff, who I went with, is a big metal fan, so he really loved that. I genuinely enjoyed it. It just fits with the vibe of the event so much, even though I'm not the biggest fan of that music itself. But that made it really fun. And also, on top of getting, you know, your allotment that day, the guest breweries and Three Floyds himself provide so many awesome beers at the event to sample. You know, you can wait in lines to get some of the rarer ones or just kind of wander up to any of a number of bars to get the more common ones. But the things we hadn't tried, normal Three Floyd variations the night before, we got the day of. We tried crazy stuff we'd never had before, like Cigar City's Hunapoo. We tried some stuff by Sun King, by Wiseacre. Firestone Walker had stuff there. I mean, it's kind of a who's who of beer in a lot of ways. And actually, Toppling Goliath, another really big Midwest brewery we were hoping would be at the event, wasn't, but their stuff was readily available in Chicago. So that checked off a lot of, you know, bucket list beer items for us. But on top of all that, you know, all that awesomeness, all the variants that you had a chance of getting in your actual bottle of Dark Lord, you know, your variant bottle, even if you didn't get that bottle in your tote bag, they were offering almost any of them, you know, to sample in 5-6 ounce pours at bars throughout the day. Now, the lines were kind of crazy for those. The event ran from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and there's lots of people that lined up before 9 a.m. to kind of, you know, go straight into a line and line up for a variant pour from like the second the event begins early in the day. We didn't want to do that because it's just a crazy long day, and, you know, no real variant pour is going to be worth multiple hours in line to me. But we still did get to try the Marshmallow Hanji, which is the vanilla aged Dark Lord, which most people say is the tastiest. Dark Lord in general is kind of a really rich, really sort of sweet Russian Imperial Stout, which I think is delicious, you know, amongst the better stouts I've had. But the vanilla is kind of just a vanilla version of it. You know, that's super reductive to say, but it wasn't distinct enough from the base beer for me to be like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. But we also tried a variant called Chemtrail Mix, which is a pink peppercorn and cinnamon variant of Dark Lord, which was my favorite variant of the day. So tasty, different enough from the base beer that you really felt like you were getting something different. I love cinnamon anyway, but still close enough to, you know, the recipe that works with Dark Lord that it just ended up being an A+ beer. So Chemtrail Mix was my favorite variant. But we tried a bunch. We tried the rye variant. We actually got to try Brotilla, which, you know, I got as my bottle, which is a wine variant. We got to try the Scotch variant. You know, we got to try, I think, in total 6 of the 11. So Chemtrail Mix was my favorite. So this doesn't drag on forever. I'll just say 3 Floyds, you rock, and Dark Lord Day rocks. To anyone who's ever thought about going, I'd highly recommend it. The only real drawbacks are that, you know, they're a brewery with limited space in sort of a rural suburban area in Indiana. So seeing this many people in that area is kind of, you know, kind of interesting to say the least. Midday and early morning, it's very, very crowded to the point where a lot of the lines and just the masses of people at that time of the day were sort of off-putting. I mean, there was just lines for things that we sort of wanted to check out that just flat out weren't worth it because they were so long. But as people start to, you know, leave because they're burned out or start, you know, just so hammered they end up wandering off, it thins out a little bit, and it's like the perfect setting then. We didn't end up waiting more than maybe 30 to 40 minutes to try anything all day. Picking up our actual beer allotment took maybe 15 minutes. It was very smooth, very painless, very organized, very easy. The people there, for the most part, are very cool. A couple people wandered up to us to get some pours of beers we brought in, because you can bring beer with you. And like I said, we got some pours of some other people's pretty rare beer. Lots of nice people to talk to that are just there to drink good beer and have a good time. The 3 Floyds people are awesome. You know, they're my kind of people. They're different. They're artsy. They take what they do seriously, but don't take themselves too seriously. Just a really cool vibe there and an awesome experience. So Dark Lord Day rocked. Like I said, I got my bottles back to Maryland safely, which was a pain in the butt, but they all got back. I got my variant back. I saw people selling Dark Lord itself for $100 at the festival, and some of the variants for up to $380, which is kind of insane to me. You know, as much as I love beer, I can't ever see myself spending that. But hey, if you want to collect all the variants or you've got that kind of money to blow through, who am I to tell you not to? So those are my experiences. If you also win, I hope you had a fantastic time. Dark Matter Coffee, another shout out. They're sort of an associate coffee shop with 3 Floyds that was there. I bought a bunch of their merch, tried their coffee. It was delicious. Brought some of their barrel-aged coffee back called Black Hole Necromancer, which looks awesome. So 3 Floyds, you're awesome. The people working there, you're awesome. Dark Matter Coffee, Sawada Coffee in Chicago, Hop Leaf, the Map Room, all great. My buddy Jeff and I had a fantastic time, and I think we'd end up going again, you know, assuming, you know, there wouldn't be much I'd need to be convinced about other than maybe the bands continuing to be pretty decent and maybe more and more variants coming out that'd be worth trying. But we had a good enough time that I'd go back in a heartbeat. So 3 Floyds, you rock. I'll make new videos soon that aren't beer related, but I just got back from this event and want to talk about it. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.